now 5:17.
I'll take notes for that.
I got it.
Oh, you
Yeah.
got it?
Thank you, Patrick.
So we're missing all those Webster Township people. You have Carrie, McLaughlin, Dorney. Okay. We have an agenda in front of us. It's a fairly lengthy one. Is there anyone from the public that would like to participate? Okay. We had, did you send out the minutes?
Yes, and they are right here.
I didn't pick up the stuff off my desk. It came directly.
No problem.
Yeah. If everybody's had a chance to review the April 1st meeting minutes, are there any corrections that we need to make? Is there a motion to adopt those minutes?
I move to adopt minutes.
Okay, is there a second?
No second.
Thank you. Further discussion? Okay, seeing none, those in favor of the approval of the April 1st meeting minutes signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed. Okay, Mr. Jane.
Yes, hello.
Would you please step forward and tell us about yourself? For those of you who are not familiar, James Fink has been Loss's attorney for a while, and he is in a situation where it could be construed to be a conflict of interest. So therefore, he can no longer be our attorney. Mr. Jane.
Am I okay to speak from here?
Sure.
Great, okay. All right.
We can hear you.
Thank you, everyone. Again, my name is Matthew Jane. I'm a shareholder at the law firm of Pear, Sperling, Egan, and Daniels. It's a firm that was founded in 1948, so we just celebrated our 75th anniversary last fall. So we're one of the oldest existing law firms in Washtenaw County. I am a graduate of the University of Michigan undergrad, and I also received my law degree from the University of Michigan Law School in 2000. So I've been practicing law for almost 24 years. My background is in litigation, commercial litigation, construction litigation. And then over the last 10 years or so, I've developed a practice in handling some municipal work and municipal law. I was at a big practice, big law firm based in Detroit for about 16 years. I left to then work at a small firm in connection with the land acquisition cases for the Gordie Howe Bridge, which is being constructed from Southwest Detroit over to Windsor. I joined Pear Sperling in early 2000, about a month before everything shut down for the COVID-19 pandemic. I've been there ever since. We represent municipalities and public entities. One thing you should know is that I've done, work for the Ypsilanti Community Utilities Authority. I've served in their role as general counsel for over 3 years now. I took that matter over from one of the existing senior partners who has gone out of counsel. We've been their law firm though since 1998. And we've also represented other municipalities, such as the Ann Arbor Downtown Development Authority, and we're also general counsel and insurance coverage counsel for the Michigan Municipal League Liability and Property Pool. We also done work for the city of Ypsilanti and Superior Township. So not just me, but other of my partners, we have significant experience representing municipal clients and handling municipal work. In my work for YC Way, I've done work ranging the gamut from basic things like Open Meetings Act, FOIA requests, to reviewing contracts, to helping them with rate and ordinance issues, helping them review their ordinances and analyzing funding questions, reviewing their contracts with vendors, And then colleagues of mine have handled some employment and labor issues. So I think a pretty wide variety and array of work that I've handled for them. I've known Jim Fink for many years, almost since I started practicing law. So I appreciate his, recommendation that I come here to meet with you guys and talk. If you have any questions, please feel free to let me know. I think though it would be a good fit, and I'm willing to take in and use the current rate that he charges you, which I understand is $2.50 an hour. I don't see any. I'd be happy with that. And I guess I'd like to know from all of you if what are some of the current issues that you may need, that you foresee, that you would like, if you select me, what you would want to look at. What are some of the things long-term that you have, short-term, in terms of issues and assignments. Jim said, it's not, a huge amount of work, but that's fine. I'm happy to do as much or as little as needed, and willing to assist however I can.
Well, a couple of things that we are involved in right now. One would be an update of our bylaws. We were down to, I think, probably the final draft of that document that Jim has presented us with, but we never got together to work out any small issues that may be in there. And Ted has worked with Jim Fink quite extensively on easements, and Jim's suggestion on how we should deal with that would be to just take a wait and see approach if there was further development within Loch Alpine, as opposed to going to court to force those easements to be directly granted to the LASA organization. We do have a significant problem with a vendor. About 3 years ago, we did a project with through Aetna, and then census meters rather, and they appear to be junk. We have multiple meter failures, and we're even tonight going to discuss replacing more of those meters with a different brand. But our problem is that they have failed to warranty the meters, not only with us, but with other municipalities. The communication battery goes dead, and it was warranted for several years and lasted several months.
Is this to track for sewage usage?
No, water usage.
Water usage, okay.
And we get our sewer rates through that meter, basically, how much usage there is.
Okay.
Those are the things I have right off the top of my head.
There is a longer range issue which may or may not appear, which is the Middle Huron-Tyndall, which has been a source of lawsuits since the 90s, but is currently settled. I don't know if it'll erupt into another lawsuit or not.
Middle Huron what?
Middle Huron, Phosphorus, Tyndall. And Dexter, Lhasa, and Ann Arbor and Chelsea were all in it for years. It's currently settled, kind of, where there's nothing happening until 2048, but that doesn't mean there won't be something that erupts sooner.
And so the work is, on occasion, certainly in the past, we haven't, asked that our attorney be at every meeting, but just kind of, work at the direction of the chairperson or the board.
Yeah, that was, thank you for bringing that up.
Sure.
That was another question I had is, I attend most of the YCUA board meetings, but, they're a much bigger, service community and, so I wanted to find out if that was something that you would expect. I'd be willing and, able to attend as many meetings as you needed in person or Zoom, kind of on an as needed basis.
Thank you. And we do, as you can see, use Zoom as well, which is always, fine for our partners.
Living around here, I live in Saline, so everyone knows about it, and I saw your update on the Gelman update. I'm assuming there's no issues, that's South Township, there's no issues that you have to deal with, out of
Hopefully
that.
never.
Hopefully never.
No,
Knock on wood.
it would have to work its way.
Yeah, so it'd have to get a lot
Up
farther.
the
That's
hill.
across the river.
Yep.
Yeah,
Okay. Okay, well, yeah, so the things that you've mentioned, I'd be, willing and, can step in and handle, any of those, updating the bylaws. If something with requiring easements, either through, negotiation or, investigating, potential court action, whether that can include condemnation or not. And then, if litigation is needed to be pursued on the meters, that's definitely something, that, I could undertake for you, so.
Any other questions, board members? Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, and so if I could suggest, if there's a standard letter of engagement, you might be willing to send us at the $260
Yes.
an hour and if the board's agreement. John.
You guys want to, I don't know if you need to vote or go into the discussion, you can just let me know. I can then definitely send you a proposed engagement letter and, we can go from there. But I address it to you, Jessica?
Oh, probably our work is going to be probably ad hoc from time to time as opposed to the need for every meeting and so on.
Yeah.
And if you would send us the engagement letter and we only meet quarterly unless there's some need to do something otherwise.
Right.
If something comes up, we could call a special meeting, but probably not sit on your seat and wait for us to respond right away to that letter, but expect that we will be discussing it at our next quarterly meeting.
Okay. Very good.
Thank you for calling.
Yeah, no
Appreciate
problem.
it.
It's nice to meet all of you. I hope to be able to work with you in the future.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, next, Chris Bailey. LASA has very limited resources when it comes to internet capability, computer capability, and so on. And our ultimate goal may be to go from Woodbridge to Scioto, piggyback on Scioto Township's DPW and billing and so on. That being said, what impediments do you see and what do you need us to do to get that going other than inviting you here? And Jess has obviously discussed this quite a bit with you. What do you need? What can you do?
So we're replacing our servers with, we're in the middle of a network upgrade project. So we've improved our infrastructure around here with faster internet speed, more reliable equipment, more reliable servers, better backup system, better understanding of our licensing from Microsoft. So with all that, we'd be able to support you with all of your needs and get, we would segregate all of your data from our data so the two aren't mixing whatsoever and be completely separate logins. In terms of from you, there's really not a whole lot a need other than, you know, access to your data and to work through BSNA to get the, new service up and running. If you were to go with us on our system to the transfer, all tested out and, up and going for you with remote access through, a web browser interface. And, I believe the Excel licensing that you needed as well. So it's really nothing you need other than information and numbers about what it is you have and such.
Well, we took on, or the other way around, Woodbridge, took us on, as a, interim, management system because, we quite frankly had some issues, with the way we were doing things. And the ultimate goal is, on both, hopefully on their part, but also on our part, to move on to hopefully Scioto Township's platform completely. We will still have our management of the water and sewer facilities, but from a billing standpoint and a financial standpoint of moving over to Scioto Township.
And what we've talked about initially is very first, most urgently is the IT piece of it. And then starting with the payroll, of course, which is something we haven't done this year, but in here is sort of the scope of work that we've discussed. And Chris, I just want to acknowledge, has done a lot of amazing work. Like literally every wire in this building is being redone. A whole new server is being built. But I also know that that's delayed kind of taking this on. So what's your kind of sense of practically the timeline of when we could shift this over?
The timeline is kind of interesting. It either has to be done by the end of August or you have to hold off until January of next year. So I'll be out of the.
We can make the end of August work in a heartbeat. Not a problem.
Right. So I'll be gone.
It's actually somewhat urgent, in my opinion.
Right.
They're housing everything on a single laptop.
Yeah, I've heard that. It's pretty scary for data integrity
Yeah,
and availability.
yeah. So we could make the end of August work. I mean, we could make next week work. And
More like the end of August, but yeah.
So, in particular, you're talking about the BSNA, correct?
Correct.
And, I can get you the file and show you how to restore it and we're set up. So we don't even really need BSNA to be part of it. It's not, overly complicated. This is so exciting to hear.
Yeah, the setup for you guys isn't too bad because once we're finished with my infrastructure, then getting your guys' infrastructure up and running is a pretty, in theory, never 100% on these things, but it's pretty minimal at that point in time once we've got all of our foundation finished.
And so Chris, the foundation being finished, just because, you know, we're not IT professionals way you are. But like when you're talking about kind of the remote user, the VPN licenses, all of that, do you think all of these bullet pointed items we could have in place by August? Is that what you're saying?
By the end of August.
By the end of August, okay, great.
They have to have that done for you guys too, by the end of August. For the whole township, it all has to be done, so I don't have a choice.
Gotcha, because you're being driven by the transition off of the managed services provider.
Driven by my hip.
Gotcha.
I have to go out and get my hip replaced for in September, so.
Oh. Okay. So the physical deadline.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, and that is so exciting. And so I think, Jessica, we're gonna wanna talk with your finance group, which is you basically, right? About exactly how to do this, the most convenient way for Scioto. I mean, ultimately, we'd like to see your staff just handle this, right? For them, it's another 5 minutes a day. So.
And I think where that's at, I think we could take on the payroll now and then maybe in December, we can look at the utility billing, AP, all of
Even
that, but
cash receipting, it would be simpler, so.
it would be,
So we'll look at that because there are different ways to structure the setup even within BSNA and some of them are more complicated than others. So let's take a,
yes,
let's talk about what that, you want that to look like.
yes. And I think the cash receiving, we're gonna have to wait until December.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we have a lot of changes happening in SIO right now. So we're hiring a new finance assistant to take on the utility billing here. So Lori is moving on, Lori Carey, who we've met before. So bringing somebody else in. And then a lot of, changing chairs here. Our treasurer has announced her retirement. She's not running again. So we'll have a new treasurer in place. And I think that with that new treasurer, I think that would be a good time to kind of introduce this idea. So we have one person running, so we will know who the treasurer will be by August 6th. Yeah. So Chris, on the IT piece of it, what else do you need to know? I know you spent some time, got information from Ryan, had a good conversation with Michael. What other technical information do you need?
From, Lawson, nothing at this point in time. It's pretty small in terms of number of houses, so it won't require a full-blown server license, SQL license, which is a database. You can go with the free version. Yeah, there's really not a whole lot to it at this point in terms of getting information for me, talking up this at this juncture.
So the nuts and bolts of any type of changeover, you need to get the database from Colleen in terms of the rates and so on, and the financials. And then by the time you recover, we need to have in place or provide you with all the billing information and so on.
Yeah,
Sort of
so
like in 2 phases.
well, so what will happen is you'll export all the data out of what you currently have to file, and then when we get the new computer set up, we'll import all that data and it'll all be there. So it's in theory relatively simple.
And
It's all in one step.
Yeah.
all in one step,
All
not
in
2
one
steps.
step. Yeah, we're just
Okay.
we're just gonna save a download and he's gonna open it up and name the file Lhasa.
And Woodhill will be able to, and others will be able to access it just through a web browser, right?
Perfect.
So we'll no longer have a dedicated Lhasa laptop. And Chris, would you be able to provide ongoing support to the other laptop that we have at the plant?
Don't my mom want to go over there because I don't want to visit. Just kidding.
Okay.
Wait, that's being recorded.
I bet your
Good
mom's
then.
watching.
I know she is.
His mom lives in Lock Alpine. She's one of our customers.
Oh,
And then what about your website management?
so you guys, I can't remember what you're using a different platform than we are. We'll just have to work with them for the, I think the BSNA billing to get that, for the, I guess you guys don't do assessing through that, do you?
We don't do assessing, no.
Yeah, I remember looking at that. I can't remember. I'd have to refresh my memory on that one. But it's
Okay,
not-
well, Michael is the one to talk to and we would love that off our plate as well.
Yeah.
That's not really
Right.
anything that our liability insurance covers, so.
So on the website, a conversation for the Lhasa board, for SIO Township, it would be practical for us to use our existing platform and just like set up another Lhasa website in Granicus. I forget what those are called, Chris, but those, it looks like its own website, but really it's managed through the same
Yeah, it's
CMS
subdomain.
subdomain.
Yeah, I can't remember if they were under a contract with a different provider or not.
They are,
Alright.
so they're under contract with a different provider. I'm just saying ongoing, if you would like SIO Township to kind of take it on, it'd be easiest to kind of integrate it into our system. for us to manage, but if LASA wanted it to be totally standalone, then
What would be the value of having it be totally standalone?
I don't know that there is any value, but. I wanted
Right
to
now,
throw
it's
it out
not, the
there.
lasawater.org site isn't getting much love. It's basically, has been set up and the page
Just
hasn't
left there.
changed.
Yeah.
The page hasn't changed with
We really don't
Forget it.
have a staff
staff to do it,
that's
modify it.
supposed to be doing that, yeah.
Right, and so from our perspective, in terms of staff that are able to update the website, just using the same software and the same CMS, that would be practical. Is that something you all, if
Well,
it
that's
if it could
something-
stay Lhasa
Yeah,
water?
we need to, look at, what services SIO is going to provide us for, what money and so on too.
Mhm.
I think that we want to integrate everything we possibly can into Scioto Township. LASA is 49% Webster Township and 51% Scioto Township. But at Webster, we have 6,700 residents as opposed to 18,000 something here. We don't have the facilities that SIO has. And at this point in the juncture, we don't have the desire to have Webster Township do the bookkeeping or anything else with LASA. So in terms of logistics, it makes sense to me and hopefully the rest of the board that SIO take over a lot of those responsibilities as long as there still is a slight separation between LASA and Scioto Township.
Yeah, it would be completely segregated
Yeah.
on the network level,
So
server
when
level.
the sewer line breaks, LASA is the one that has to
Yeah.
get it fixed
Right.
as opposed to your DPW.
Mhm, mhm.
And the draft kind of MOU, Jim Fink drafted up on behalf of Scioto Township, kind of gives the framework, but we can, add to the scope as we see fit. I think, Chris, what would be helpful for me is on the IT bit of it, if you could add in whatever language is needed there for like a subdomain for the website and the email. I think that was one area that hadn't been sketched out. If we could aim, is there any reason we couldn't aim for August for that part of it as well?
As long as we're looking at the end of August.
Yeah, and I could ask, like Mary or somebody to work on it. We would, come up with Chris and I have talked about, what this might cost LASA in terms of kind of like, sounds like there'll be a kind of a one-time setup and then maybe an annual nominal fee, but the one-time setup, it'll be I'm not sure what costs go into that. It's been a while since we talked about it.
Be a server license, some other minor licensing for remote access and such, but.
Well, Chris, if we could probably get together, say in another month and discuss the transition and if you need to speak more with Colleen to see what Woodhill can provide you and what date and things like that, it would be appreciated. I'm going to put a lot of that on you in terms of communication. Communication primarily with our SIO representatives and the operating committee, because we're going to probably have some questions in terms of what we need to do also. And Jess has obviously all that information. Right. Board members.
I just want to thank Chris.
Yeah.
This is possible only because we hired an IT director, and it's been possible only because we've had Woodhill, who's been willing to shoulder this, which is very much outside of your scope. And I think it's important we get this moved over as quickly as we can.
Woodhill has been instrumental in basically getting all the financial stuff organized for us. It was less than optimum where we were. There weren't controls in place that should have been. We're an amateur group, and they brought some professionalism into our organizational needs. What they do.
Thank you. Well, this is an exciting next step.
Okay.
Thanks, Chris.
I just agree that we've come a long ways apparently from where we were just a couple of years ago, and it's really great to see the progress. I just really appreciate everybody's work on this effort.
Okay.
See you later.
Thank you, Chris.
We'll be in contact.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was gonna go grab one.
Look forward to working with you.
Me too.
Okay. Brendan, what do we have?
Yes, sir. Well, on the first on your list here is Andrea's appointment as administrative contact for Eagle.
Lucky her.
So what does that entail, Andrea?
Basically, they send out letters to the various WSSNs, to the management and to the operators, so nothing hopefully gets lost. So there's this double system of management gets the same letters that operators get. And that's what Navarre was sending on, was the basically, you know, there's a file server that blasts this stuff out to all operators and management. And he was just passing it on to the work group. And I could do the same thing if you want, or I can weed some of it out, because like the cybersecurity stuff, I don't think you need to do that. But you know, if you want me to pass everything along like he did, I could do that.
I would hope that you would monitor and filter.
I could do that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Okay. Brandon, tell me about long meters.
So we ran into a hiccup where your sprinkler meters are 9 inches long, and the regular house meters are 7.5 inches long. We need like 1.5 inches long or whatever spool piece. They don't make it. So they make a 2-inch long for some reason, and everything we've played with and tried, I had some different spool pieces at different locations we tried. So what we're gonna need to do is order some long meters, as well as I did send along a little quote. What I'd like to do is order some 7.5-inch meter horns, because what we figured out was happening is every time somebody wanted a sprinkler system meter on their house, they were giving them a 9-inch long meter instead of just giving them a short meter. So what I want to do from now on, we could work with what we've got with the ordering long meters. But from now on, I'd like to give out 7.5-inch meters for sprinkler meters. That way we have one uniform meter size as we go along. And as you know, meter horns need to be replaced or whatnot, we'll just weed those out and switch them all over to 7.5. But in order to get us out of the woods, we need to get some long meters. And Michael made the suggestion of, you know, allowing us to order 40 or have the ability to order 40. And we're just going to order what we need, which is, I want to say it's right around 26 long meters at this time. But as we go along, as we found the dual port MXUs are the ones that are failing. at a faster rate than the single ports. So we'll eventually need all 40 of those, if not a few more, but that would get us out of the woods and get us some, allow us to get some of these meters that are double changed out, which is most of what we need to change out.
So what was the logic when the meters were first put in to have two different length meters?
That's a good question, because I truly don't know that. I would have, personally, I would just want one length meter. Make it all uniform. I don't know. I wasn't here, so I kind of would like to talk to somebody about why they thought that, but.
That the logic was so that they were different, right? So you knew that the 9-inch meter was a sprinkler system and the short meter was the service, right? So there was a differentiation between the two uses of the meters.
Couldn't you put a magic marker on it and write sprinkler?
You could, but that was the logic from, I think, you know, the first set of meters way back when.
I'm sure Census pushed it that way.
Oh, yeah.
In this go around, we did not, the 3 years ago or whenever we did that.
Yeah, we just replaced.
We
what
replaced
was
them in
there.
kind, so
Yeah.
it was the previous iteration that happened.
Right, the initial meters. Okay,
In Dexter, our irrigation meters are all 1-inch instead of the residential 3/4, because we had some irrigation companies complain about using residential for residential a 3/4-inch meter for the irrigation system. They didn't think it was as efficient, so that's why Dexter went with a different 1-inch sides for irrigation. I'm not, but your 2 meters are so close. I'm not sure why they did that.
well, Dexter doesn't have a lot any place that requires a 1-inch irrigation line.
That's what that's what the places doing irrigation wanted. So the council gave it to them.
Okay, so we need to order 40 meters at $385 per meter, is that correct?
Yeah, but what we're gonna do is we're only gonna order what we need to save on the cellular subscription start date. So we'll order whatever we need. But we'll eventually, but then say we get, I think we got 90 some meters right now. But say we get a few more that Michael finds that are bad, or, you know, we'll just order more of the long meters up to 40. And then once we hit 40, we'll stop and rediscuss, but that way we can save that cellular subscription because it starts from the date of shipping.
Okay, so what I would be looking for here is a motion to allow F&B to order up to 40 short meters at $385 each. Is there such a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Support.
Brandon, was that, did you say long or short meters?
Long.
Long.
Okay.
So
Okay,
I'm
you said
sorry.
just
made a motion for
Oh.
short meters.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, just a
I made a motion for short meters.
Long.
Do you agree?
That's right.
Okay. Okay, any further discussion on ordering the meters? Seeing none, we need a roll call. Julian?
yes.
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, tell us about the valve maintenance program and which ones we should turn and which ones we should not.
Well, I'm working on getting you a proposal for a valve turning program. As for which valves to turn and which ones not, I mean, a valve turning program typically is, you know, once a year, once every 2 years, once every year, turn like odd number meters and then, or odd number valves, and then turn even number valves maybe the next year. But as for which ones we should turn, which ones we should turn, which ones we shouldn't, that I don't know yet. The last water main break we did, it's one of the fairly older meters, or sorry, you got me talking about meters. Valves, it closed good, it just wouldn't open. So we do have one up on Joy Road that won't open, closed, but it won't open. So the one thing that I can caution you is with valve turning, you could be doing valve replacement alongside that, you know, because we can't physically see them and know their condition down below underground. So I will get you a proposal to do valve turning.
Will we have that by the next operating committee meeting?
I'm hoping so. I don't control that, but I will push to get that done.
Can you integrate it with hydrant flushing?
Yeah, we could probably do that.
Okay, chlorine gas system at the wastewater plant. What do we need there?
Basically we need yearly calibration of that. It's something that RS Technical comes in and calibrates it every year for safety, and everything is $3,356.32 to do that work. It is a maintenance item that we do every year.
Okay, I don't know that we need a motion to approve that amount of money. Lab equipment purchase.
The lab equipment we're looking for is a DR900 color meter for reading chlorine and iron. It'll do several other things. So if we needed it to, we could do phosphate and different things. That price is $2,258 from USA Blue Book. It's kind of become a standard.
How often does this need to be replaced?
I'm sorry, I think I got kicked out.
How often do we need to replace it?
Dexter bought ours in 2000 and it's still going.
Oh, okay.
But there are local people who could do maintenance, and they also have a Hack has a trade-in program to get things maintenanced. You know, you can basically ask for maintenance and they'll send you a replacement one while it's in for maintenance if it's not something somebody local can handle.
Okay. We need to look at
it is pretty standard in the field.
okay. Okay, we need to move forward with that. So you need an approval for $2,258. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Is there a motion?
I approve the motion to buy the colorimeter.
Support.
Okay.
Well, what did you say it was again?
Colorimeter. It's also known as a spectrophotometer. It basically measures light. It's got a bunch of names, but it measures wavelengths through a solution.
It's pretty standard.
Yeah, it's pretty standard.
Okay, we have a motion in front of us. Roll call. Andrea?
Yes.
Pat?
Yes.
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 Motion carries. Okay. Damon, you want to tell us about the water main break?
Yeah, so we had a water main break up on Joy Road. It was Joy Road in Northgate. We had a really good shutdown on it. DeWolf was able to come in and make a band repair on that. But when we got to looking at the prints, it looks like that line from Aberdeen all the way to Northgate, a portion of it is 4-inch. And then it upsizes to 6, getting closer to Northgate. But right at Northgate and Joy Road, there was a valve that it's an older valve. You'd installed a newer one at Aberdeen and Joy. With that valve at Northgate, we were able to get it closed to get the shutdown and repair, but when we went to reopen it, it only opened about 4 or 5 turns or so, enough to pressurize the line, but it wouldn't budge any farther after that. So it's stuck partially closed. It is something that I think we should have further discussion on about maybe either just replacing that valve particularly, or maybe looking at that 4-inch line for a future project.
How far do we have to go to reach 8-inch lines on both ends of that?
There's an, excuse me, there's an 8-inch at North Gate, there's an 8-inch at Aberdeen. So that whole distance.
How many feet?
Good question.
1,200?
I think, Ted, we talked about a half a mile or so, or less.
Yeah, it was 2,200 feet maybe.
Wow.
And it right now, it really only has 5 houses on it, with the ability to have up to 10, I think, because I think there's some empty lots there.
Are there more than those 2 Jack Campbell empty lots in that distance?
I think there's at least those 2. I thought there was one more. I'd have to look at the print again, but when I counted up the lots to do the boil, it was like 9 different lots between there and there. And when we went to hand the boil notice out, we really only handed out 5 because there was only 5 houses.
Okay.
I think 1,200 feet, so 1,300 feet is a better number than 2,200.
We probably need to revise our CIP then at some point. And probably at the next operating committee meeting, we need to discuss that valve specifically.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
Okay, anything else we need to know?
I know Ted might get into this too, but the potholing in the CDSMI, we ran into kind of a hiccup. I did manage to get a quote from DeWolf for the 26 potholes. We've already got a quote for the curb box replacement. We've got 6 of those as well, but the 6 of those at $3,500 a piece. But the 26 potholes, his price was $1,965 a piece. So I'm having trouble getting other contractors. Lester's did not give us a call back. We'll keep trying on them, but there are some other
quoting 1,000 for potholing. The only reason why we're doing 450 is because in Dexter, because they did it years ago. And we're still working on that contract. But right now, everybody knows the October deadline's heading in, so everybody's raising their prices. I'm not.
So Andrea, what's your comment on the 1926? You think we can do better or not?
I doubt if you're gonna do better at this point.
Okay.
Brandon, can you restate the price on the curb stop replacement?
The curb stop replacement, for the full replacement, he quoted $3,500 per curb box, and there's only 6 of those. So that would be a total of $21,000. The service lead potholing, where they just basically check on either side of the curb box for what the service line material is, that is $1,965 for 26 potholes, for a total of $50,190.
Do those have to be done by
October.
October?
Well, we have to, there's 2 rules going on. The EPA rule says 3% a year. The state of Michigan rule said you had to have this done, the minimum line verification done by January 1st, 2026. So there's this, which one's on top thing going on right now. And everybody's defaulting to the Michigan one being on top because it's the more stringent, having the whole thing done. But you never know when it comes to EPA rules, whether they'll insist at how this is gonna shake out. I really don't know.
But it's a question of when, not if, right?
It's a question of when.
Yeah.
They both put their oar in about doing potholing, and they have different directions. We're assuming that the Michigan rule is on top because it's the more stringent one.
So we're talking between now and October.
Right. If you want to do at least the minimum for the EPA, it has to be 3% of that number. But if you want to meet the Michigan number, you're gonna have to do it all.
Right.
Well, eventually,
Yeah.
we're gonna have to do it all anyway.
You're gonna have to do it all
But in
anyways,
terms of
eventually.
timeline,
Right.
Right.
Colleen, what does that look like in terms of $50,000 from our budget right now?
It's tough. So, I mean, you don't have a choice, so, you know, you don't have a choice. So you have to find it.
but I guess we'll deal with how to pay for it when we get there. But in terms of getting it done by October, we need Brandon to move forward with at least the 26 potholes. I don't think we should name who the vendor is in case we can find Lester or somebody willing to perform the service for less than $50,190.
You could try M&K, but I don't know if you'll be able to get them because they're working on a lot of jobs.
Yeah. The Wolf just happens to have vac trucks and can do the work, and he said he could do it before October. With Lester's kind of not wanting to communicate back with us, kind of tells me that they're a little overwhelmed as well.
Right.
Could I have a motion to expend up to $50,190 for potholing from a vendor to be named?
I make a motion to initiating potholing for the DSMI for the price of $50,000 up to.
Support?
Okay,
Yes.
further discussion? Again, money, Julian.
So do we have a capital improvement?
Well, this
or was
is
it
going to
kind of
be,
unexpected?
We're gonna be talking about that in a minute
We're gonna
here.
talk
Oh, okay.
about-
Yeah,
Okay, well,
right now, we're gonna spend the money, then we're gonna have. to
So
pay
Aaron
for it
has something in
later in the meeting.
okay,
Sorry. Ted has something in there for this. It wasn't this level.
Right. Once you get the minimum service line number done and it actually matches your records, then theoretically we could stop and we don't have to do anything.
Mhm.
So that's the good part of actually doing the Michigan number, because as according to their rules, once you do the minimum service line verification, and if your records match what you potholed, then you can stop, which is an advantage of the Michigan rule. But it's also a question with the EPA rule, because that's less clear. I wish this was better.
It's not cut and dry.
Yeah, I wish this was more
Confusing.
cut and dry.
so
Well, it appears that we have to do it one way or the other. period.
Right.
So we have a motion by Andrea, support by Flintoff.
yes, I do agree. We need to do this.
Yes.
Yes.
So I'm unclear. Did we just authorize Brandon to go ahead and
Yes.
get the contract?
It's not.
Just now, okay. So, because you didn't name the vendor, so you're saying whatever vendor
A vendor to be named.
whatever vendor he says this is what you get to do.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it. So we're not, he's on a go. He's gotta go. Okay, I understand. Thank you.
Okay, Brandon, do we have any other bad news? Happy news.
Well, Ted had mentioned to me that the to meet that minimum verification, we were going to do about 6 of the curb boxes is that something you guys already approved or want me to keep moving on to do those 6 curb boxes as well? Because that was part of the verification portion of that, those 6, correct, Ted?
Well, I mean, can we start at the beginning of the lead thing real quick? Just kind of go to there. Because we went through anything we could go through to find this. So there's 535 connections. We know the material on 403 of them. So there's 132 outstanding. If we take the 6 curb boxes and replace those, we know that, then we're done with that, right? And you know, at $3,500 a pop to replace the curb box versus almost $2,000 a pop to verify, it makes sense to replace those, right? And just be done with them. So at least 26, or I'm sorry, 126 connections that we need to verify. So that's where that's 20% of that is where the 26 comes from. But we looked at, you know, when the good thing about the census water meter replacement is we verified all but like 5 or 6 of the service material inside the house. So we don't need to go into anyone's houses basically, because we know that we have copper in the house. We went through all the old drawings. We went through the age of the houses. We went through the prior ordinances, which we didn't find anything. So we found as much as we could to narrow that list down as where we were. So that's kind of the backstory on the lead services, or the unknown services. I did reach out to the Eagle, and what happens if we can't get this done for whatever reason, right? We get the contractor and DeWolf doesn't perform or whatever. I think the ramifications will be really based on the level of effort we put into getting this done, right? So that was his answer, was, well, the more you've done, the less likely the hammer is going to come down hard on you. And I mean, I think getting it done by October 16th, I think is ambitious, but you know, if at some point, this is a living document, we can finalize this at some point and resubmit and get there. So that the costs are coming in high is not surprising to me. I think I've seen half a dozen bids come out for this type of work. So
I was in on some webinars with the state of Michigan lead and copper unit, and they gave very wishy-washy answers. They want a good faith effort on everybody. And so if they think they're trying, you know, that's good enough for them. But they also said that they're going to be handing out letters of violation for people they don't think who are trying. And we tried to quiz him on that and couldn't get a firmer answer than that, which was very uncertain.
Very quick with a letter of notice of the violation these days.
The lead and copper unit is its own disaster. It really is.
But to your question about the curb boxes, I don't know that we have authorized that.
No, I think we authorized 3 earlier. I think in the previous meeting, there 3 was authorized. I think it makes, I mean, it's just, why dig something up and bury it to pick it up and replace it, you know, even if it's a different house. So
Well, I think your logic is correct. It's a matter of what we've authorized versus what we need to move forward with.
I would certainly suggest if we authorize 3 already, I would certainly suggest authorizing 3.
So the other 3 is no.
5.
We're doing the same thing in Dexter. The ones we have to dig up, I mean, the ones that we're verifying, and if it's something we need to replace, we just do it.
So
We're doing the same thing.
we're talking about another 10,500 to do 3 more. Okay, is there a motion?
In the CIP plan that we sent, we included 21,000 for curb box replacements, which included them all.
But we've already approved 3.
Well, I did that for next year's capital
Okay.
improvements. So I put that 21,000 in 2025.
We can pull that out if we pay for it now.
Yeah, or I mean, effectively, it's going to happen in July.
It's gonna happen next year.
Yeah, the next few months, yeah. Okay.
So we're just, he was being optimistic that you would approve the next 3.
I
So
was.
he's got the 3 you approved and the other 3 in.
Well, I mean, it was something that we should discuss. So
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I was thinking $1,000 a shot for the physical verifications, and it's coming in at 2,000. So we have 26,000 in that capital improvements plan for next year for physical verifications.
Okay, so right now we need to approve, 21,000 for 6 curb boxes at this point.
Yep, we could say a total of 6. Yep.
Right, I think so. I don't have the minutes, but I think we did 3 last time already.
Yeah,
Mhm.
we did, but let's just state that it'll be authorized another 21,000 to replace no more than 6 curb boxes.
Is there a motion?
That was my motion.
Okay, is there a second?
I second.
Okay. Further discussion? Roll call, Andrea,
Aye.
Pat,
Aye.
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 I,
Okay, motion carries. Okay, what else do we have all the money spent that you want to spend? Brandon?
I don't want to spend the money if I don't have to, but, yeah, I think that's everything I've got.
Okay, thank you. Ted?
I kind of, my biggest item was the lead services. Yeah, we went through all that. We have the randomized list prepared that Brandon can act on. There will be some decisions to be made. I don't think we don't need to make them tonight, but there's some decisions to be made on how to make the inventory publicly accessible, whether we have paper copies or online maps or whatever. So that's something we should probably discuss at the next operations committee, be prepared to answer that.
Can I bring something up for, that we encountered in Dexter? If you got places you can't actually hydroexcavate, you got a reserve list of, a list to continue on, because we did our randomized list and then found out we couldn't hydroexcavate like a good half of them.
So I did the random number thing and,
So as
That-
long as you can keep going down when you find ones that you can't hydroexcavate.
yeah, so I just took the list that started as smallest to largest and highlighted the top 26, and all of them are on the page still, so.
Okay, so you can keep going down. All
They're
right,
all there.
okay.
Any other problems you have for us, Ted?
No, this is the biggest problem. I mean, we could talk about the capital improvements, but I think that's
Yeah,
what
we'll-
we're probably.
We'll get to
Yeah, we
that.
think of that as an opportunity.
Okay, operational, committee, issues. I left my notes on my desk.
I just put that in as a placeholder, but I think we covered everything I noted from our meeting. If there's anything else.
Can I bring up some from the LAIA? The lady on Prospect Court didn't receive a letter. I mentioned to them that there was going to be a letter sent out, and then you didn't send out a letter, and I got a question about it from the LAIA. Basically, the one about the insurance claim, they refused, the insurance claim was refused, and we were supposed to, send them a letter explaining, I'm sorry, but the insurance, was refused and we don't have a budget for this.
Okay. Yeah, I totally spaced on the fact that we were gonna send a letter. I knew we made that motion.
Yeah,
Right.
well, we didn't say what day.
We didn't know, we didn't say what day.
No, that's
So we
fine.
can still do it.
Yeah, I'm happy to do that.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you, Andrea.
so we were going to send out letters to
No,
her.
to this one
Oh,
person
just
One
one,
letter.
okay.
Right.
One
I thought
letter.
maybe others
that
had
had the
received
damage
it.
in the back of
Yes.
the house.
Okay.
Yes. Okay.
Okay, Colleen.
Yes, sir. So first I need to apologize because I didn't realize I needed to email you and Jessica. So you probably thought I had emailed Jessica
It didn't make any difference
when I sent you
because,
all the materials.
we didn't have internet.
Well, I now know. So, Jessica has, let's see, we're gonna talk about the budget later. So can we do under financial A? Let's wait and talk about that with the budget because the current year to date is included on the same document as the
Yep.
budget. Okay, so then do you have a list of bills for payment?
We do not. No.
Okay, so I didn't know, I don't know, I guess I thought maybe Michael sent that, so, I can follow up on that and we'll get you a list next time. So let's move on to C, which is the proposed capital improvement plan. And so you received a capital improvement plan from Ted, but he submitted that to us and we took the capital improvement plan and applied a financing piece to it. Because a capital improvement plan without a financing component is just a nice set of ideas, right? So we have to know how we're gonna be able to pay for these, and how you pay for these is through your rates. So I did just update the capital improvement plan with the updated information on the service line verification. So you'll see that's in fiscal year 2025. I apologize, the font is so small. So instead of 26,000, I have 50,500, which means if we approve the rates that we're gonna propose to you, by 2028, you would be at a negative $18,000. That's assuming no additional rate increases, right? So we're just taking what we've got, the rate increase we're proposing. So obviously we don't want to end up at a negative 18,000. So we would have to constantly look at this every year. You need to look at your rates, and you really can't look at your rates without looking at your capital, because currently your rates are not handling your asset service. So asset service includes paying for debt and making sure that you can pay for your capital. And your current rates are not accommodating that, right? What you're using to pay for your capital expenditures right now is your reserves. And so you can see by this schedule that you're going to be out of reserves. Now, Ted has pushed a good portion of your expense into 2034, and you can see you're going to need to go out and borrow some money. We're going to be at negative $4 million in 2035, if all these assumptions hold true. So you say, okay, at that point, that's worth going out to bond, right? What we don't want to bond is for these smaller expenses. We don't want to bond for $500,000. We have to be able to afford this with our system. And so you're going to have to raise your rates in order to meet the capital requirements that you have on this system. The only other thing you could do, I mean, your total capital is, it's just not that significant, right? I mean, it's worth being able to, and it's actually less expensive for your users if we can fund this stuff ourselves without going out and borrowing $500,000 here and there, right? Borrowing is extremely expensive. And so, so there we have it. There's your capital plan if the rates are approved. So I'm gonna let you have any questions you might have on the capital items that Ted has proposed.
Well, what I see as our biggest problem is that, like you said earlier, we're paying for the principal on our debt out of current revenue, as opposed to paying for it in addition to current revenue. And ultimately, our fund balance is going to become a negative number.
Yes, exactly.
So if there is going to be a rate increase, we just spent 71, well, more than that, almost $90,000 extra beyond what normal anticipation would be. You need to cover that 90,000 plus the shortfall in the rates because of the debt principal.
Yes. So why don't we I'm gonna actually you have your budget before you, right? So let's just talk about the budget first. So we're gonna skip past the revenue sheet. And let's just look at your appropriations. So you have before you the 2022-23 actual, your activity through May of 24, your 2023 budget, and then your 2023-24 projected. So we're projecting that your budget is low. We're projecting that you're actually going to spend significantly more than what you originally budgeted. And then the next column is your 24-25 budget. And so you can see that your projected budget of 276 is because you've had a lot of one-time projects that you've had done during the course of the year. So what we did is we changed your accounting a little bit. So if you look in your appropriations under general administrative, you can see 592-101-000-818-000. And it says management services, that's your base contract with F&B. So instead of having all of these figures go into one line, we wanted to be able to call out, okay, the base contract is easy to budget for. Everything else that's not the base contract, let's see what's going on in there. That means that the board authorized some type of movement. Now, I haven't gone back through your minutes to say, do these numbers match what you approved? These are the numbers that have been paid. These are the dollars that have been paid. So we're projecting that you're going to have about an additional $30,000 in expenses to F&B for additional projects. Is everybody following that?
Yes.
Okay. Then in addition, we called out the accounting costs, which was previously in professional services. So we want it to be very clear. Right now, Woodhill is costing you $37,800. That is a move that was important for the board to take, but as we migrate to SIO, we would like to see that decrease somewhat, right? We'd like to see SIO pick up some more of the day-to-day tasks of the accounting. And then we called out your legal fees separate, and we called out your engineering fees separate, so that we think it's fairly transparent what's happening here. Then you do have some professional fees other in 592-101-000-801. And those are like BSNA fees. You know, there's just some other fees that you're outsourcing. Are there any questions? It's just a little bit of tweaking, but hopefully it just makes it easier to understand. And it's certainly easier for us for budgeting purposes.
Helpful, thank you.
Okay, so we can go into the next page. And this is Department 590 Sewer. And Brandon, I apologize that you don't have a copy of this. It's my fault. I didn't email it to Jessica.
I'll forward it to him right now.
Not a problem.
Okay. I mean, this is a fairly static line item. I mean, what we're projecting to increase is not significant. What we're projecting for the budget is not significantly different than what we're projecting for 23-24. Likewise, water. Water is a little bit more of a jump. Okay, so this proposed budget basically has total appropriations of $754,000 that you must cover. Now we have to talk about your revenue. So the revenue, have to cover those base operating costs, plus it has to cover your principal payment on your debt, plus it has to cover these capital plans. So the rate that I'm giving to you right now is the rate that does that. It doesn't mean that that's the rate you have to adopt. It just means that that's the rate you don't adopt, and we have to come up with a 5-year plan of rate increases so that we get to where we need to be. This doesn't mean that this is the only rate you're gonna have to adopt for 5 years, but this is one big step up. And if you look at your budget document again to the last page, you can see that I'm telling you under the 24-25 budget, if your revenue less your appropriations is 159,000, basically 160,000. So basically we're saying, okay, if you adopt these rates, you're gonna put $160,000 in the bank. However, out of that 160,000, you have to pay 250,000 on debt. And then we'll say, okay, well, we can add back depreciation. Depreciation is an expense of a system. It is the annual wear and tear of a system, but it's not a cash draw. So if I take your 159 to the good, subtract 250 for your principal, add back the 182. Basically, we're now left with $92,000 in cash, which is the amount that you will see is financing your capital plan. Does that make sense? Okay. And 92,000 financing your capital plan still brings you to, at the end of 2028, a negative 20,000. So we know that this is a first step, but this is not going to solve your problem, because to have a system of this size and take your reserves down to nothing doesn't work. Right. But it at least says we're at least not in a negative, right? Because at the moment you've been transitioning to a negative. You've just been drawing on your reserves.
How often have the rates been raised? I mean, is there a schedule for that? Have in the past or?
No.
Rates should raise every year. Like there's no way that rates should not change every year. You just have cost of living, the cost of the supplies goes up, the cost of your vendors goes up. I mean, rates have to increase every year. So if the rates do not increase, then that increase will have to be caught up in subsequent years, right? Yeah. Now there are some pieces of non-rate revenue that are included here. Thank you very much, whoever Ryan finally got to the bank. So we are able to budget $42,000 in interest revenue this year, whereas last year we were hitting 10, right? So that's an additional $32,000 a year in investment income. That was very simple to do. Close some accounts, move it into an investment account. So that was a great move. You do have these final bills that I'm sorry, I really would love for you to eliminate that from your bylaws. Do I understand that F&B gets to go in and look at the meter? I do, but we can schedule F&B to go in and look at meters anyway. It is a clerical, administrative, time-consuming task to do final reads. And if you're going to do them though, which I would request you not do them, but if you're going to do them, for goodness sakes, we need to at least bill for them. So right now we are doing final reads at no cost to the person who's requesting the final read, even though it actually costs quite a bit of money. So when you go through all of the work that has to be done on a final read, I mean, you are close to it costing $100. And you're gonna get a lot of pushback on that, which is why in a lot of places we say, if you wanna offer final reads, charge them this, or say, go read the meter yourself. Go read the meter yourself, or title companies will split the bill, same way they split the tax bill. They'll split the next bill, like there is no reason administratively for a final read. So the only reason we would be having a final read is if your F&B operators feel very strongly that this is helpful to them. And if they feel strongly that it's helpful to them, then we want to bill for it.
Brett shaking his head.
Saying no.
He's saying it's not helpful.
No, it's not helpful to us in any way. I don't know if it's helpful to the board in any way or the utility, but I do agree with you, Colleen.
This is in the bylaws that we must do this.
Well, otherwise, we're a year into this and we would have been at you in the first 3 months saying, discontinue this time-consuming, unnecessary, non-productive process. But it's in your bylaws.
Yeah, and once we get the articles up to date, the next thing is the bylaws.
Okay, so
Then the
that process.
Unless there's a way, and of course your attorney isn't here, that, you know, usually bylaws do allow the board some level of discretion in items, and we could have the board say, we're gonna discontinue this process. So either bill for it or eliminate it.
How many final reads occur on an annual basis?
Michael, are you still on?
Yes,
How many final reads are you doing?
couple of months, generally. The point of sale inspection, yeah, that process. Depends on the time of year, you know, right now, I expect we'll get more in the summer, but,
Yeah, I guess I thought you were telling me it was a little bit more than that.
Yeah,
But
but that's-
about six.
no, it's more the meter problems that have been the time consuming thing because, those require getting a read and, getting the customer to send me a read, pictures, etc. So it's a combination of the two. The final reads are not, I mean, there's a handful of them. And generally, they don't know about them, so it's after the fact anyway. So that makes it time consuming rather than being part of the actual close process. So the time, I'd say over half of the final reads we've done have been from customers that didn't know they needed to do one. So we're estimating anyway, in many cases where they said, well, they moved out 3 weeks ago and somebody else has taken over. So.
Which makes it really.
Again, it's
less worthwhile, yeah.
I think Brandon, Colleen and I all agree that the relative value of it is limited and a bit of a administrative headache.
Okay, well, we need to deal with the final reads. That's not the major issue here.
No,
It's the
isn't, but
$250,000.
it just came up because of non-regular.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and it's
so-
something we need to get ready for our next board meeting. That being said, let's look at your
Summary of
rate
the
sheet
rates?
here.
Made the model, okay. So on ready to serve, so you cover your costs in 2 methods, right? One is that you're billing by a meter size, so it's a flat fee every quarter. The other way you cover your cost is by a commodity charge, so the amount of usage. And there's, you know, you can switch that up however you want. About, I don't know, 6 or 8 years ago, GLEWA started saying we're gonna cover 1/3 of our costs through the flat fee charge. And now I think it's at 2/3. Now it actually might be at 3/4, right? So it's a more stable income. The more you cover from your flat fee, the more stable of an income it is. And when you're talking about, do you need a stable income? You have to think about what are your costs? So we have a contract with an operator who has to maintain a certain amount of, workload, whether water's going through it or wastewater is going through it or not. He still has to perform certain functions. So the stability of the flat charge is very useful, right? On the other hand, users who use more than other users, we'd like to see them pay a little bit more. So this is a split. And what I did is I kind of tried to mirror your split before. So your split right now on the water would be 27% of your cost is coming from your flat. So it is something that I'm gonna recommend that you hold with that percentage right now, but that we migrate toward increasing the MEU cost. Okay, so 27% right now, that's what's in this proposal, would be covered by your flat fee. 35% of your flat fee would be covered from sewer. So on the ready to serve water, we could actually go down 97 cents if we wanted it operationally. So we've broken this into 3 categories, right? We've broken it into ready to serve and commodity rates are covering your ops. So the first 2 pieces, ready to serve and commodity rates, are covering your O&M. The 3rd category, debt and asset service, is covering your capital and your debt. So this is where the large increase is. But on the ops side, you're actually doing pretty well, right? We can actually say operationally that we can hold, operationally, we can hold your water commodity level. We can actually reduce your water ready to serve. On the sewer, we would need to bring your sewer ready to serve up 18% and your sewer commodity up 6%. Neither of those are outrageous. It is in your debt and asset service that we're having the problem. So both of those are a flat fee because we have to have that money. We can't rely on commodity usage fluctuations. And so that water rate would go up 44% and the sewer would go up 19%. Now, even though individually those numbers look high, when you total it out, you're looking at a 26% MEU increase and a 3% commodity. Considering there was no rate increase last year, and honestly, I don't know, was there a rate increase the year before?
Several years, many years.
Okay, this is not a bad rate increase. Now, granted, remember, we've looked at the capital plan. This really isn't a final solution, but it's a good first step to keep us from hemorrhaging cash. So this will stop us from hemorrhaging too much cash, right? We want to hang on to the cash we've got and spend it on the capital. We don't want to spend it on operations and debt. So if you consider this is a multi-year increase, we're only asking for 3% in the commodity, but we are asking for 26% in the flat fees. This is not an unreasonable rate increase by any stretch of the imagination.
So next year we would visit
we go through the whole same calculation again. We update. So capital improvement plans are moving documents, right? I mean, we've got a 10-year estimate here. Who knows what's going to happen? You can't hold an engineer to those dollar figures, right? Every year we update this, we look at it, we look at the amount of usage, we look if you've added a few more users that can help share the cost. So yes, every year we revisit it and we look at, okay, did we make the amount of money that we wanted to the year before to put into the capital?
and what is the fiscal year for LASA?
July 1, June 30th. So July 1 begins your next fiscal year.
That's why we're meeting tonight.
Yeah, okay.
So we would want to put the rate increase effective July 1, which means if we pass it tonight, we can put a message on the June bills, right? So the June bills are going out in July. So they won't actually see the rate increase until their October invoice.
I mean, I would support this. We just went through this in SIO, so I'm comfortable. I trust you, and it's been many years, and would support going forward with this effective July 1st.
Is that a motion for the rate increase?
Yes, I'll make a motion to adopt the proposed rate increases effective July 1st.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, and by way of discussion, we also need to adopt the budget tonight. We're discussing a 20% increase in the rate for the fixed rate, and then a 3% for the gallon usage. That being said, any discussion on it?
I have a question. So after if we approve the rate increases, is this for this next year, does this reflect the
We have
increases or
to
no?
adopt that also.
Yes.
As
Okay.
proposed, it reflects.
As
it.
proposed, okay,
Yes,
just wanted
the
to,
proposed budget reflects these rates.
okay.
And the capital improvement plan submitted to you reflects these rates, the financing of that.
Okay, and then there was a $50,000 question in the beginning.
So the capital improvement plan had an original estimate for the unknown, for the service potholing at 26,000. It's coming at 50. So the current rates are reflected in your capital plan. Yes, we're now gonna need to add like another $30,000 there, which is why if you look at the 2028 year on your capital, year 2028, now instead of having a little bit of money, $5,000, you're gonna be short 18,000.
Right.
Right, because I need to update that service line verification
Julia,
price.
I'm sorry for the disruption, but we do have a planning commission meeting at 7.
So we have 2 minutes to discuss everything. That's reality.
So that,
So we do need a budget approval and we do need approval of the rates. Yes, ma'am, what?
okay, but the extra, the unexpected expenditure that is included in all of this.
Well, it's not covered by your rates, no.
No.
No,
But
so we,
that will come out of our fund balance, but there's a
Okay.
big difference between $18,000 and $250,000.
That's right.
We're trying to fix the $250,000.
Okay,
and
I
so
just wanna be
it'll,
clear.
it'll be incorporated, I mean, basically it'll be incorporated next year
okay,
when you do your rates again, but we've taken a large step here.
Yeah, the jump start.
Towards saying we're incorporating capital plan with our rate discussion as well as principal cost of debt, right? All of those pieces.
I'm going
So,
to ask for a roll call vote on the rate increase. Julian?
yes.
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 Yes,
Okay, next, budget. You have the budget in front of you. Is there anything we want to do additionally with the budget?
and you know, this should be some incentive, right? Hopefully for discussions with SIO and price points with SIO that, you know, maybe we can bring the accounting costs down a little bit here. So
But in the meantime,
meantime, this is it. Yeah, this is your price
is there a
point.
motion on the budget?
So moved.
Pat? Any support? Those in favor? Oh, no. Roll call. Andrea?
yes.
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 Okay, budget's adopted. The rates to support it have been adopted. Public participation.
Anybody on Zoom?
Yes, Pam Boyd. I'll be short. Pam Boyd, a SIO resident, SIO Community Newsletter. As a resident watchdog, I want to thank Woodhill for the great work they have done for LAHSA. And thank you to the members of the board who voted in favor of hiring Woodhill. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Looking for one more motion.
Motion to adjourn?
Yeah.
Second. That was my
Those in
plan.
favor of adjourning, signify by saying aye.
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 Thank you.
Submit it.
Thank you.
Meeting is adjourned. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.